Good morning, everyone. We are here today because of the double standard that exists within the justice system. As you know, on February 27th, the Oversight Committee, as well as House Judiciary, had sent a subpoena to Attorney General Garland, of which we received no response. And after referring him for criminal contempt, within 48 hours or less, the Department of Justice refused to prosecute. Inherent contempt is clearly within our Article 1 authorities, and Congress does have the power to investigate all legislative powers. Investigations are part of our legislative process, and people that interfere with these processes should be held accountable. Inherent contempt was first used in 1795, and this was further upheld in a Supreme Court decision in 1927 in McGrain versus Doherty that stated that Congress does indeed have this authority. It's important to note that when an individual is called before courts across the country, they appear. Why should the Attorney General, who is supposed to be head of all law enforcement authorities, any different? Garland still has time to comply with this request. We are asking that he bring the tapes to the House and let us listen to them. But in the event that he does not, we will press forward with calling the privilege motion on inherent contempt to the floor on Friday morning. It is also important to note that if we as a Congress do not have the ability to enforce our investigative ability, that we are essentially going to be ignored and undercut and essentially handicapped by all other branches, which would make us not a co-equal branch of government. After me, I have Dan Crenshaw speaking that would like to address this issue, but I would appreciate that the press report on this accurately and that Congress, again, does have the authority to do this, that the Attorney General is not above the law, and ultimately we will be pressing forward with this. This is something that, again, would enable the Speaker of the House to order the Sergeant at Arms to take into custody the Attorney General if he fails to comply with our request.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This here is Legitical Response, and yes, that happened. You know, I have to retract a statement, something I've said several times here on this channel, on many different videos. As a matter of fact, I've said that, you know, Congress doesn't have any police arm. You know, the Capitol Police, they're only in charge of this. I had no idea of this here provision giving the Capitol Police the actual right to go and arrest Merrick Garland for his crimes. A lot of people are trying to cry foul with this, saying, oh heavens, they're so extreme and politically one-sided. And it's like, hang on, is that really the argument? That just because this hasn't been done in a long time, it's extreme? No, I'm sorry. You do not. You know, it's the left that is always talking about nobody is above the law, especially when it comes to Donald Trump. We've heard them say this several times. Oh, nobody's above the law. He needs justice. Blah, 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 blah. And it's like, hang on, though. There's an obvious double standard going on here. It's playing out in front of our eyes for everybody to see it. And I just don't understand these people when Merrick Garland does the exact same thing that Steve Bannon did, that Peter Navarro did. And they're not going after Merrick Garland because he's the head of the DOJ. He's the Attorney General, right? And Steve Bannon wasn't, right? Your position doesn't matter. You can make whatever argument you want. But just because you're Merrick Garland, right? Like, I heard that argument, like, this is so extreme, this is so partisan. What are they doing? They shouldn't be doing this. It looks bad. What? Enforcing the law, enforcing Congress's power, right? This is something that just because Congress hasn't done it in a long time doesn't mean they shouldn't do it. As a matter of fact, they should do this a whole hell of a lot more. When people break the laws, don't care who you are, what position you have, what party you have, go after these people. Congress should absolutely do this, and I'm so delighted to see that they are actually doing this. Like I said, I had no idea this provision even existed. This is outright amazing. Thanks to Anna Paulina Luna. I always talk about her as being one of the best congressmen. Yeah, she is really, really good. You got to see her in some of those committee hearings. She's just great. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about that right quick because, you know, I've been screaming at Republicans, please do something about these criminals that are just getting away with crimes, right? Like, just because we don't go after Hillary Clinton doesn't mean that we shouldn't, right? Just because Joe Biden takes home classified documents and shares them with his ghostwriter which is the story we're about to cover, doesn't mean that he's a doddering old man and we shouldn't go after him. He clearly broke the law, right? Like, just because you're a politician, just because you're part of the establishment doesn't mean that we shouldn't go after you, right? Once again, in the words of the left, nobody is above the law, right? You want to go after Donald Trump for crimes you think he committed? By all means, go ahead. But when you commit crimes, don't think that they're not going to come after you. The American populace is tired of seeing this double standard when it comes to politics and the criminal justice system. We want to see these people criminally charged, and the Republicans are finally coming through. This is probably one of the best things the Republican Party has done this Congress. I'm not going to lie. They haven't done a whole hell of a lot. They've done a lot of disappointment, a lot of man, come on, a whole lot of that crap, right? A whole lot of, why would you do that type of stuff? And they're finally getting something done that is very satisfying, if you will. But let's go ahead and get into the story. Check this out, y'all. Republicans advance contempt charges against Biden's ghostwriter for refusing to turn over records. Now, once again, we're going to see what happens with this. We're going to see if the DOJ wants to prosecute, but from reading out the story, it looks like they're not going to, because they're trying to cry foul. They're trying to say, oh, well, they have no right to come after this guy, blah, 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 blah. Well, hang on. Peter Navarro defied a congressional subpoena. And guess what? He had executive privilege. That situation is exactly like what's going on with Merrick Garland. It's the exact same situation, pretty much. Like, as far as litigation goes, as far as what you're going to argue in the courts. Steve Bannon and Merrick Garland, there's no difference in between what they done. But yet the DOJ wants to go after one and not the other, just because one is the head of the DOJ. No, I'm sorry. That's not how blind justice is supposed to work. That's not how an equal justice system is supposed to work in this country. No one is supposed to be above the law. Equality and injustice, that's just simple, basic norms of this country that we have been faltering on, for God's sakes. We haven't been upholding that standard for a good long time. Look at all the politicians that do criminal activities, right? Once again, Hillary Clinton, for good instance right there. Hillary Clinton did a lot of dirty stuff and nobody ever went after her. House Republicans advanced a resolution Thursday that would hold President Joe Biden's ghostwriter in contempt of Congress for refusing to turn over records related to the special counsel's investigation into Biden's handling of classified documents. The House Judiciary Committee voted along party lines to recommend contempt charges against Mark Zweiser, who worked with the Biden on his 2 memoirs and through him was exposed to material that was deemed classified. So because this was passed upon party lines, basically what that is saying is that the Democrats do not care about the rule of law. But that is no surprise to us. We have seen this time and time again with all these stories that I'll cover on a constant basis. These people just do not care, y'all. The committee action paves the way for a possible floor vote by the House to refer Zweiser for criminal contempt. Republican Rep. Jim Jordan, the chair of the Judiciary Committee, issued a subpoena to Zweiser in March after he had refused to voluntarily turn over documents, including audio, video, and transcripts of his interviews with Biden for the 2007 book Promises to Keep and 2017's Promise Me Dad. Zweiser continues to withhold all documents and materials in his possession that are responsive to the subpoena from the committee. The resolution states, the materials requested from Zweiser are crucial to the committee's understanding of the manner and extent of President Biden's mishandling and unlawful disclosure of classified materials, as well as Zweiser's use, storage, and deletion of classified materials on his computer. The contempt proceedings are the latest Republican legal salvo against Biden and his family. You love how they frame that. They're just a Republican legal salvo. No, this is just standard basic justice, right? You don't refuse a congressional subpoena. Just because it's Republicans that issued it, now it's got to be partisan. These people are insane. Earlier this month, Republicans voted to hold Attorney General Merrick Garland in contempt for his refusal to turn over audio with special counsel interview with Biden. The White House had blocked the release of the audio weeks earlier by invoking executive privilege. It said Republicans in Congress only wanted the recordings to chop them up and use them for political purposes. Now, that is one of the most ridiculous reasons to deny oversight. And I talk about that ad nauseum, right? The Biden administration just does not care about oversight, does not care about the rule of law, does not care about the Supreme Court, does not care about the Constitution, for goodness sakes. We just covered yesterday, which, we had a storm come through, and I'm sorry I didn't make a second video because of that. We didn't have any electricity, so I kind of couldn't record. My one video I made yesterday was kind of on the fly, so it was like, what are you gonna do? But that is the most ridiculous excuse you could possibly use. Oh, they just want to use them to chop them up and make viral clips out of it. No, I'm sorry. That is no excuse to deny oversight, for goodness sakes. Like, what are you really doing here? What's the real argument behind this? They're trying to play partisan politics. If they wanted to do that, use a little bit of logic, use a little bit of sense in your brain, right? Throwing that argument out there like that makes you sound stupid, because it doesn't take much to go and find a random clip of Joe Biden saying stuff, and you can put anything together you wanted to. Just because they're investigating the president for an impeachment inquiry, because there's an obvious double standard going on here, because you went after Donald Trump for taking on presidential records, for God's sakes. And then Joe Biden has been stealing records since the 1970s, and all of a sudden you don't want to prosecute him. Well, because he's a Democrat. Because there's a double standard in our justice system. It's all utter, it's just mind-blowing, once again, to see these people making these arguments as to why they don't want to uphold the rule of law, why they don't want to follow the standard practices of the justice system. Like, come on, guys. You can't use that excuse. They even threw out an excuse that they were worried about them taking it and making audio deep fakes. Right? Like, really? Like, we know for a matter of fact that there's several apps out there. All you got to do is take 30 seconds of somebody talking, and you can feed it into that application, and then you can make that person say anything you want to. There's viral clips on YouTube of Joe Biden, Donald Trump, Barack Obama, all kinds of people, Joe Rogan. As a matter of fact, there was that deep fake ad that came out that had Joe Rogan advertising a product that he never advertised. Yeah, it was a big controversy, if you will, about Joe Rogan. Actually came out and said, no, that wasn't even me. That was an AI deepfake, right? And I'm sorry, but congressional Republicans really are going to take this audio to use it to make an AI deepfake. Are you freaking kidding me? So you're going to deny the rule of law, deny judicial standards in this country for a piss poor excuse. Get out of here, guys. I'm sorry. That just doesn't work with me. I'm sorry. That shouldn't work at all. If you look at it with an unbiased eye, that's BS. It's outright BS. There's a clear double standard here, y'all. In a letter to Jordan on Tuesday, White House counsel Ed Siskel accused Republicans of not engaging with officials to accommodate their requests before targeting Zwinser publicly. The committee's actions are an obvious example of the very weaponization of government for political purposes that you claim to decry, Siskel said in the letter obtained by the Associated Press. Putting a private citizen in your political crosshairs and threatening him with criminal prosecution simply because you refuse to engage with the executive branch is out of bounds. Holy crap. Do you hear the double standard now? Let me know down in the comments section. That is clearly double standard, right? We know that with Steve Bannon, Donald Trump asserted executive privilege over the documents that the January 6th committee wanted. The January 6th committee said, I don't care. He's no longer president. Give us the records. So that put Steve Bannon in a weird place, right? He had initially refused, right? once they found him in contempt, guess what he did? He said, okay, I'll give you the records. For goodness sakes, stop crying about it. And you know what the January 6th committee said? You know what the courts said? I don't care. You're going to jail. And on July 1st, he has to report to jail, and he's going to jail. The exact same situation that we have here. And good old Ed Siskel with the White House is trying to cry foul, right? Proving the two-tier justice system in this country. Once again, if it wasn't for double standards, the Democrats would have no standards whatsoever. It's just utter amazing coming from these people. Republicans opened their investigation into Biden after the February report by special counsel Robert Hur said that Biden was sloppy in his handling of classified material found at his home and former office. Hur said Biden shared classified information with Schweizer while the two were working on Biden's second book, which Joe Biden made $8 million off of, right? So he disseminated and shared classified materials, classified information with a ghostwriter for personal gain. Name something Donald Trump has done that is worse. I'm waiting. But they refuse to go after Joe Biden. Once again, if Donald Trump had nuclear secrets, but we can't tell, we don't know, they won't show us those classified documents, what was in those classified documents. We can't know that. That doesn't stop the corporate press from saying, oh, he had nuclear secrets. And he was trying to sell them to the Russians. Like, come on, y'all. Like, either people are very stupid and just buy into that, right? Like, if you believe that Donald Trump had nuclear secrets, you're a freaking idiot for believing these people. If they told you that, you believe it. I'm sorry. He may have nuclear secrets. I highly doubt it. I really highly doubt it. What would be the point of having nuclear secrets? That doesn't stop the corporate press from trying to lie to everybody, right? Like, they have lied so much about Donald Trump. Anybody that buys into their lies, you can't convert these people. I have people in my comment section constantly arguing with me. Oh, well, Donald Trump did this and said this. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. That was a corporate press lie. They lied to you. Go and look up the facts. This didn't actually happen. Blah, 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 blah. But there's no changing these people's minds. They just hate Donald Trump with a passion. That is what you call Trump derangement syndrome. It's okay if you have it. I understand why you got it. The corporate press is very good at lying to the American people and making it a believable story, for goodness sakes. I mean, I fell victim to that too for a while, right? I completely fell victim to that. A lot of people do. But it's like, once you start seeing the lies and you start seeing the illogic coming from the corporate press, and it'll just snap one day and you'll be like, hang on, let me look into this a little bit deeper. And once you realize just how much they've lied, you start seeing it everywhere. You start seeing lie after lie after lie. And the way they frame stories, they make it look bad, like Republicans' legal salvo. It's stuff like that, right? Like, it is just standard judicial practice, right? Somebody defies a subpoena, you put out an arrest warrant for that person. But this is just great, y'all. The Republicans are finally showing a spine, and I am here for it. I am loving it. Let me know what you think down in the comment section. But that's all I got for this one, y'all. I want to thank everybody for watching, and y'all try to have a good day and stay legitical. Peace.